on the softs. Let's go and check the stream, see where it's at. If I can put that in properly, there we go. Go and look at the YouTube channel, not mine. Hold on. There we go. So, the stream's up, the chat's up, we're all good to go. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round 11 of the Go Workplace Training. Oh, I made a typo in the title. Do you mean Go Workplace Training PlayStation Pacific Series, the Tier 1 Pacific Series. It's time for the Mexican Grand Prix here at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, a 4.3 kilometer, 17 turn racetrack. It's a fairly well-rounded racetrack. It's got everything you want. It's got high, low and medium speed corners. It's got long straights that lead into heavy braking zones. Generally speaking, it's a well-rounded circuit. However, I do have a few nitpicky issues with it. The first and foremost, screw that S section. The high-speed S section that forms turns 7 through 11 is probably the most painful S section in the entirety of the F1 2020 game. By a lot. It's so infuriating to go through every single time. Because it demands so much from you. You have to cut every single turn through that high-speed S section to stay competitive compared to your rivals, to maximize your lap time. You have to cut every single corner. And we're right on board with Nachos. Hopefully he gives us a good idea. So maximize the width on entry. Then you have to do this at turn 8, where you cut absolutely everything. Same goes with turn 9 and especially turn 10. And because of what this game is like, if you put all 4 tyres over those white lines, you cop a warning. And in qualifying, that means you invalidate your lap. In the race, it means that you can collect quite the abundant amount of penalties that can really affect your race. As Nachos crosses the line to set the first benchmark time, 1 minute 14.4, beaten by S. Nui. 1 minute 14.2. Shaq goes quickest now with a 13.7. The other nitpicky thing about this racetrack is the arena section. We'll go on board with Spilly. He's probably... No, sorry, it's the other Racing Point, Sorel JB. I have a real problem with this arena section because I find it probably the biggest missed opportunity Formula One has ever had. This arena section is supposed to be the highlight of the racetrack. It's a place where spectators come in their thousands to witness Formula One cars close up. So ideally, you want it to be a focus point when it comes to action. So then, you know, you give the spectators a good time. You make it so then everybody wants to get into that stadium section. Instead, though, what they decided to do with that arena was basically create a dogleg corner that provides nothing in terms of racing. You cannot pass there, and it's just a choke point for cars to go through every single lap. And it's particularly infuriating under safety car restarts because it's just a bottleneck. Everyone bunches up through there. For a safety car restart, as we saw at Shanghai, it just causes a mess. So in my opinion, it's probably the worst piece of road building I have ever seen on the Formula One circuit, purely because of those reasons. It doesn't provide racing, it's just a choke point for the cars to go through, and it's a mess under safety car restarts. Its entire purpose, instead of being this sort of highlight of the racetrack, is just for a place on the circuit where the cars can slow down so the cameras can get a good look at them sponsors. Because we have to remember Formula One is a business, of course, it's not just a world sport. And it's not a particularly great section to drive through either. I just did Tier 3. And that section that forms turns 13, 14, 15, and 16 and 17, those are the final corners on the racetrack, it has no flow. It feels so artificial. And it's so clunky and, I don't know, I can't quite find the right words to describe it, but it just... it feels so bad. It has no flow. It has no purpose. It's just a bit of a racetrack that you're forced to go through. Now compare that to its original track. You used to go around a corner named Peraltada, which was this flat-out sweeper, somewhat reminiscent to Parabolica, and it had a slight amount of camber. We only use half of it in today's circuit, but in the old-fashioned track, that would be epic to go through in these cars that have ridiculous amounts of downforce. Not only that, but it was the place of a famous overtake made by Nigel Mansell round the outside of Gerhard Berger. The overtake was that brilliant, they actually decided to name part of the corner after him. Yeah, generally I'm not the biggest fan of this place, but I'm sure the Mexican fans, if we were here in real life, they would more than make up for it. It's a place where they can cheer on their home heroes, Sergio Perez. And they, like many fans, are probably some of the more passionate ones in the world. Probably next to the likes of the Brazilians and the Italians, I imagine, for their love of motor racing. Well, with my squabble out of the way, probably time to focus on qualifying. Crichton currently standing pretty at the top as Swaggy invalidates there at turn 14. He sets a 13.3, which would have put him provisional pole, but unfortunately that invalidation has resulted in him still down the order, not yet to settle flying lap time. So LJB has invalidated. This is going to be quite the common sight. Not going to lie. Volts on a flying lap. Driver who I believe I've not seen before. A couple of drivers I haven't seen. Another one is S. Newey. I've seen a little bit of Prime Stingray. Oh my dearie me. That's Aaron. He just drove through. And I don't think he was going as Newey goes to the top of the table. 1 minute 13.513. Pips Crichton to the post. Volts rounds the final corner. Crossing the line to set a 1:14.6. Currently a 10th off Curving Texas in P11. Swaggy's on an in lap. Spilly on a flying lap, heading towards turn 12. That leads into the arena section. Comes around the hairpin of 13. Then 14, turn 15. Turn 16, this 90-degree right-hander, and turn 17, the final corner where we saw Valtteri Bottas bottle it in qualifying. What was that? That was 2019 when he did that. Spilly goes third fastest with a 13.679. Missed amount on a flying lap has invalidated. Appears to be pushing on though. Up by a half a second. With that sort of improvement, he could have challenged for pole position. Fortunately for him, that won't be the case. He'll probably come into pit entry. No, he won't. Yes, he will. Now, there was something mentioned in the head steward's briefing about pit entry. The drivers are to go to the right-hand side of the first bollard at pit entry, so then drivers can actually spot pit entry. Drivers are to always go to the right-hand side. They are not allowed to enter from the left-hand side of the bollard like Mr. Mount did just then, but I wouldn't be too worried about it. It's only qualifying after all. Sandeezy looking pretty solid in P5 at the moment. Coming through the high-speed S's in the middle sector. Keeping it absolutely pinned, fully committed. Now towards turn 12, up by a 10th of a second. A Haas getting out of the way. That is one slick mofo. Around the hairpin. Then into the final two corners, turns 16 and 17, and invalidates. And into the pits goes Sandeezy. Whereabouts is Aaron? Aaron is in the third sector. Nachos as well. We'll go on board then, or rather watch one slick mofo. Actually, we will ride on board. Could take you on the guided tour of the racetrack. Turn 1, most prominent overtaking spot on the racetrack, can lead to some great battling as well through turns 2 and 3. Exiting 3, a critical traction zone to maximise the top speed down this straightaway towards turn 4, another potential overtaking spot. Round turn 5, then towards turn 6, sort of double apex, hairpin of sorts. I actually rather like that corner. Then into the S's. Turn 7, the left-hander. 8, the right-hander. Left again for turn 9. Then into turns 10 and 11, this fast left-right section. Sorry, right-left section. Dear me. Into turn 12. And into the clumsy final sector as Crichton improves to do a 13.357. Mofo will round the final two curves, hugs the inside, goes second quickest with a 1 minute 13.509. Just pips his teammate S. Newey there, who was on an out lap himself. On a flying lap though, Kiefer Swaggy through the high speed second sector. Out he comes towards the arena. Purple apparently to the second sector. That's entirely possible. He was very fast on his first lap. It's only because he invalidated that he hasn't got a lap time. Around turn 16 and turn 17, hugs the right hand side, crosses the line, sets a 13.090. 2.5 tenths clear of Crichton. That is some margin over a racetrack that is only about 65 seconds long. Very close indeed. Nearly on a flyer. Around the middle sector, this is where time is gained or lost. You don't want dirty air through here. Dirty air is quite noticeable. Crossing sector 2 split, up by 4 thousandths of a second. With that improvement alone, he can jump up to third. Rounding the hairpin of 13 into the kinks of 14 and 15. And the final two curves of the racetrack, he slams the throttle up through the gears, crosses the line to go third fastest, beating his personal best by a little under half a tenth of a second. Jackson validated. Aaron, he's going into the pits, I believe. OP Magic currently 10th quickest. So the top 10 separated by a little over 8 tenths of a second. Not too big. And we still have time left for drivers to set at least one more flying lap. Spelly is just following OP a little bit. He's on an out lap, preparing himself for a flyer. Everyone on soft tyres as well. The strategy around here is an interesting one. It tends to be a two-stop. Soft, medium, soft. The hard tyre isn't too bad around here, but just the medium compound, you can get a little bit more out of it. For the drivers outside the top 10 though, they may fancy a one-stop strategy, medium to hards. Make them do one less pit stop. Gives you about 23 odd second bonus for not making an extra pit stop. Spilly rounding turn 1 in third gear, down to second for turn 2, back up to third for turn 3, and backs out. So he's just going to trundle around again and let the timer run down a bit more. That way he can race, or qualify rather, in optimum conditions. So then he can get the best lap time possible. because he hasn't invalidated, he hasn't backed off because of an invalidation. I reckon he's just backing off to let the clock run down a bit more. Several drivers are on out laps now. Wogboy on a fast lap. Are on PB 1 minute 14.280. Rounding turn 1. Modulating the brake and throttle there. Nice exit out of turn 3. Heading towards turn 4 now. A heavy braking zone up by 0.08 of a second. Spilly has just started his flying lap. Some yellow flags. Drivers just trying to find a bit of track so then they can get their final lap times down. See Wogboy, he has a McLaren in front. It's Nachos. Rather expertly gets out of the way using the runoff area to not impede the Ferrari. But down in the second sector is Wogboy. Can he find time in this final sector? Rounding 13, 14 and 15 that form the arena section. And coming out turn 16 and 17 to end the lap. He will cross the line 14th quickest with a 1 minute 14.197. That's the best he can do. Spilly has invalidated. His session may be over, though it's going to be fairly close with the clock. See drivers pulling out of the way, then Aaron getting back into the racing line so he can get this lap down. There's Plevs. And the two Red Bulls are just behind him. They're just going to make it. Maybe the second Red Bull might not. No, he has. OP Magic was the second Red Bull. He has made it. Old mate Kurt coming to the end of his lap. I think the next car is Crichton. He's out. He's crashed. He's thrown away his chance at pole position. The best he can hope for is second. Old mate Kurt rounds the final corner. Goes third quickest. Next car is a Racing Point. It must be Sorel JB. Swaggy has backed out of a lap. Sorel JB is back into the pits. Nui, in the midst of all this traffic, runs wide. Oh, and one slick mofo follows. So both of them won't be improving either. A lot of shenanigans going on here at the end of qualifying. Spilly is down. He won't be improving. Shaq has finished his qualifying. He's 6th quickest. Sendeezy has invalidated. So is OP Magic. So is Plevs. Mr. Mount will cross the line. Goes 4th fastest, improving by half a second. Just behind his teammate, old mate Kurt. Curving Texas has invalidated as well. So he'll be starting from 17th place on the grid. And I think that's the end of qualifying. Rather chaotic end to that qualifying session. Drivers coming out very last minute. And I would not be surprised if at least half of those invalidations was caused because of traffic. The fact that they were surrounded by other drivers who are also on flying laps or perhaps on in laps or out laps. It was quite a messy end to the session there. But there we go, qualifying over. Swaggy on pole position, 1 minute 13.090. 2.5 tenths clear of Crichton as we get to see the brilliant Codemasters AI as the cars proceed to crash into each other. There you go, quite the entertaining qualifying session indeed. But now we got to look forward to the race itself. Now one of the more brilliant things about Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez is how incredibly long it is to go from the start line up to turn 1, and I think it probably provides one of the best camera shots on any opening lap in the F1 game. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what happens lap 1, turn 1, so it'll be fantastic. But going through qualifying. Swaggy on pole, Crichton second, Kurt third, Mismount fourth, Nui fifth, Mofo sixth, Shaq 7th, Spilly 8th, Aaron 9th, and Sandizi rounds out the top 10. Now, if it's a dry race, and I'm assuming it's dry because I haven't gotten anything, all of the top 10 will be starting on the soft compound tyre. We'll run through the drivers outside of the 10, and we'll have a look at what tyre they start on for this race. Rightio. So loading onto the grid now, what are the conditions like? Clear. There's one long cloud in the sky, but other than that, there is absolutely nothing. So, all of the top 10 will be starting on the soft compound. What do the drivers outside the 10 start on? I have noticed that the soft tyre is so much quicker for about maybe 6 laps than the two other compounds, the hard and the medium. It's genuinely about 2 or so seconds a lap quicker at times. It's ridiculous. But after about lap 8, the soft tyre really starts to wear out. It's actually quite ridiculous how quickly they start to wear out, those soft compound tyres. So I imagine for pretty much all of the drivers inside the top 10, they will be doing a 2-stop of some description. Looking at the field, we'll run through the order outside top 10. The first of which will be OP Magic, starting P11 on the medium compound tyre as well. Same with Plevs alongside in P12. Polish Gorilla in 13th on the softs. Wogboy alongside him on the soft compound as well. So their plan is to make moves early, be a bit assertive, and try and push themselves up through the field and sort of compensate later on. And I saw that the 2-stop strategy, soft, medium is potentially what Wogboy is going with. Volts in P15 on the mediums. Same with Nachos in P16. Kevin Texas in 17th on the soft compound. Sorel JB in 18th on the mediums. Prying Stingray will start from the back of the field on the soft compound. So he and Curving will have a similar strategy to Polish Gorilla and F1 Wogboy. Their plan is to make moves early on. And being on the soft compound straight away, it gives them a great deal of flexibility if they head into trouble early on. So, be very interested to see how those drivers get themselves into this race, how they play into this race. Leaders are making their way round to the grid, tail of the field, getting through the arena section. We're all going to line up, get ready to race here in Mexico City. 19 cars will form up on the grid, almost a full field, which is quite impressive to see. We had 36 laps lay in front of us here. We got an incredibly long run to turn 1, which always provides a little bit of action. And we also have 5 red lights, and it's lights out. And away we go here in Mexico City. Swaggy converts well. Then get a load of this. This is drivers scrambling all over the racetrack, heading towards the first turn. Look at that, just a sea of colour heading towards turn 1. The two Williams are side by side. Oh, and contact between a Racing Point and Renault there at turn 1. Exiting turn 3, the top 10 or so looking pretty intact. No massive dramas there. Nachos has fallen down to 19th place. He's at the back of the field. Making moves is the Haas. I think that was one slick Mofo down the inside of Spilly. They are now side by side heading around turn 6, and Mofo comes out on top of that. No, actually Spilly counterattacks and gets him back. Into P8 goes Spilly. a fine counter-attack there at the exit of turn 6. So other than a few bumps and barges, it's a fairly tame first lap. See the position change. Oh, Plebs has fallen down to last. And he's got damage on his front wing. A missing end plate on the right hand side. I believe he'll be pitting to get that replaced. In he comes. Same with Wogboy. That's a Ferrari coming in. Medium tyres for Wogboy. Plebs, it's a set of softs. As we have the lap 1 glitch that still hasn't been fixed yet. Well, the drivers cross the first sector line, it will soon sort itself out. All the drivers behaving themselves at the moment. Plebs and Wogboy exiting the pits now. They have got a lot of work to do. They're going to need a safety car realistically to bring themselves back into this race. Exiting the high-speed S's, which is absolutely horrible in the midfield where you've got all this dirty air you just have to fight through. It's just an absolute nightmare at the best of times. Swaggy, fastest lap. 1 minute 17.275. No one comes to beat it. See this tremendously long train of cars, and with now DRS enabled, this is going to get a fair bit more interesting. Perfect Texas making some moves on his soft compound tyres. As I said, he'll be trying to move his way through. Prying Stingray has done an excellent job of that. Around the outside, Sandeezy into P9. Polish Gorilla tries to follow, keeps the nose there, and rather nicely Mofo gives him the space. Position stay as is, and Sandeezy pulls away there. Bit of an awkward one from Mofo, but Polish Gorilla can't do anything because of the dirty air. Just loses so much time. Stingray closing in round turn 12. Turn 13. 14 and 15 cars sliding about everywhere in traditional Brian Stingray style. Very much on the ragged edge, pretty much 24/7 when he's driving a car. What a shot this is. Looking up and down the pit straight, just seeing all the cars coming at ludicrous speeds. You can still see there is quite the incredibly long train, isn't there? There's a couple of groups in these trains. You notice towards the back end, I think it's Volts has got some margin in front of him to Curving Texas, so he's kind of vulnerable to Opie Magic Nachos and Sorel JB at the moment. You can see Sandeezy has lost a little bit of time to Spilly, though he's closing in ever so slightly. Then we got this top three, Swaggy, Crichton and Kurt. Aaron is closing in. He needs to get within 1 second. Oh, what? What on earth happened there? Kurt just went into the wall rather sporadically, and he's just got wing damage. I don't think him and Crichton made contact. It certainly didn't look like it from my point of view, but that is a tremendous blow to his race. He will have to pit to get that replaced. Oh dear. What an odd little accident that was. Two leaders fighting away. Plebs setting fastest lap with a 16.5. See the cars behind coming through turn 6. The gap opening up significantly as Kurt, he's going to be incredibly slow through here. Crichton gets his first penalty of the night down the inside at 11, and Kurt can do nothing, and he'll let Mr. Mount through as well. Good teamwork there from the two Williams cars, not holding each other up. Mr. Mount can now try and put pressure on Aaron, fight for those podium places, or perhaps he'll try and work with the Mercedes-Benz to try and catch up to the leading duo. As Kurt goes in, see how much time he's going to lose here. Now, will he commit to the 2-stop, I wonder, as Crichton gets by? Swaggy's not giving up, though. DRS open for Crichton, as there's no DRS detection zone in between turns 1 through 3. As a result, if you get DRS down the long pitch straight, you will also get DRS between turns 3 and 4. See, Swaggy now has to put up with the dirty air. See, he loses a fair amount of time through this middle sector, and he's just given himself a 3-second time penalty as well. So the two leaders are back on even ground. I think Swaggy might be lining up an attack here. Doesn't want to let Crichton go so easily. Rounding the final bend, coming onto the pit straight. 4 tenths behind. I reckon he's close enough to attack if he wants to. Doesn't commit to a move though. Turn 2. Turn 3. Short shifts to 4th gear to minimize the wheel spin. DRS open. Sits in the slipstream once again, heading towards turn 4. See that Swaggy has got quite a bit more battery life, as Nachos has had a moment at turn 1. Gets back onto the racetrack and gets going again. You can see Crichton a bit under 30% compared to Swaggy. He's got 80, so Swaggy is in a better position when it comes to resources, as Mr. Mount now gets a penalty. He's in 4th place behind Aaron. Aaron's yet to get a penalty. Aaron is quite good when it comes to that sort of thing, to not getting penalties. He'll be hoping to not get any for tonight, and that will help him out tremendously in the results. Now chose a 3-second time penalty just after his incident to rub some extra salt into the wound, as Swaggy is definitely close enough to attack. DRS down the inside. Crichton, somewhat defenseless, but tries to hang it around the outside. It is impossible to do that though when Swaggy is that far in front. But if you can hang it around the outside, you have the inside line for turn 2, which may allow you to retake the position if you need to at turn 2. That sort of move is sort of a when you're trying to defend your position. Crichton loses a fair amount of time to his G-Force compatriot through the 2nd sector. Gap has opened up to 7 tenths. The gap hasn't really opened up between P2 and 3. The gap has stayed at around about 3 seconds. Hasn't really opened up at all. Rounding the final bend, Mr. Mount leading this train, with Aaron following suit, Nui in P5, Shaq P6, Spilly in 7th, Sandeezy in 8th, One Slick Mofo 9th, and Polish Gorilla rounding at the 10. He's got Stingray and Texas right on the back of him. See Crichton go for a move. No, he's not close enough to. Neither is Aaron. Sandeezy might be. But unfortunately for Sandeezy, the car in front also had DRS, so he didn't have momentum on his side to try and make any sort of move stick into turn 4. But this is the kind of racing that you see on many racetracks that have long straights. Just see these DRS trains form. It's the same story with Monza, Spa, Silverstone can be like that as well. Austria is definitely like that at times, where you just get these trains form. And none of the guys inside these trains can do anything. Purely because they don't have any momentum on their side to make move stick, as into the pits goes Aaron. Sandeezy follows, same with One Slick Mofo. And out of the pits they go. Stingray also pitting. Getting off these tyres. One Slick Mofo just comes out in front of the Ferrari. See all 3 Ferrari engine teams all lined up very nicely there. Mofo, will he go for an opportunistic move? Perhaps down the inside at 1. No, he won't. He'll be more sensible and just sticking behind the Alfa Romeo for now. There's Stingray, a tremendously fast run, exiting turn 3. Both cars have DRS. Will Stingray go for an opportunistic move here? Goes down the inside, shows the nose. They give each other space. Rounding turn 5. Stingray can't get the switchback, so he stays in behind in 17th. Swaggy is pulling away as well, gap of 1.1 seconds. Crichton is staying out there too. Not pitting in just yet. Mr. Mount does though, he blinks. Same with Newey. Polish Gorilla stays out. Same with Curving Texas. There's Gorilla, there's Texas. All of the soft runners from the start now pitting onto fresh tyres. Most of them mediums except for Spilly. He's on hard compound tyres. The only driver in the field on the hard compound. Get a lovely aerial shot here. You can see the environment of the racetrack. Curving currently sitting P4, yet to make a pit stop though, as Stingray gets a penalty. He's right in behind Mofo at the moment, and Spilly has spun. This is at turn 2. It's going, kind of. Now he gets it going. Needs to be careful though, those tyres will feel absolutely horrible. Away he goes. Shaq, a 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. He's stuck in the dirty air of Sandeezy as Spilly gets a 5-second penalty for corner cutting. 10-second penalty for corner cutting. I have a feeling he might be retiring. Swaggy onto medium tyres. Crichton onto hard tyres. Interesting. Only he and Spilly went onto the hard compound for their second stint. See if it pays off for the Mercedes-Benz driver. Now at the front of the field, it's Volts, followed by OP Magic and Sorel JB. That is our first 3 positions, and it's G4 Swaggy in 4th. Nachos falls down to 8th place on his old medium tyres. Spilly, as I suspected, elected to retire from the session there. It's not having a great race, it seems. Having a moment at turn 2. I'm not sure if he was helped in any way, shape or form. But either way, that incident has resulted in his retirement. Oh, dear me. It's always a bit hard to mouth moments through there. Because the car can get incredibly sideways through turn 10. And that was an authoritative move there, Swaggy. And that's the only way you can make moves in there. You have to be on 11 lap fresher tyres compared to the car you're overtaking. And you have to send it. Like full on send it. And have full cooperation with the car you're overtaking. So LJB, a 3-second time penalty. Now Swaggy needs to get by OP and Volt. It will be difficult to get by OP as he has DRS at the moment. Closes in a lot in the braking zone though. Makes contact even with the Red Bull. He had that much momentum. Perhaps looking down the inside, he can't here at turn 6. But he'll get a great exit purely because of the fresher tyre. He shows the nose and goes down the inside. OP backs out. He wants nothing to do with it. And back into third goes the Red Bull. Swaggy's next target will be Volts. This is for the overall lead. And considering he's made a pit stop and he's about to go back into the lead already, it just shows you how fast Swaggy and Crichton were at the front of the field. To be passing these medium runners already. That's some bit of driving. Here comes Swaggy. A fairly simple move with little to no resistance as you'd expect. And into the lead goes Swaggy. Crichton is the next car to try and cut his way through. He's got OP Magic in front, a gap of 1.1 seconds. So LJB taking full advantage of Crichton's existence, using DRS to help his cause and perhaps catch up to Volts and OP once again. Mr. Mount has still got Aaron in behind, who is still yet to get a penalty. Teammate All-Mate Kurt is in 8th place, looking pretty solid on those 7-lap-old medium compound tyres. He is going to be at a disadvantage compared to those around him. But the dirty air will see to it that the cars behind won't get any sort of advantage on those fresher compound tyres. See the drivers making their way through this arena section. And into the pits goes Sorel JB as Plebs gets a 3-second time penalty. Drivers are weaving on the pit straight to try and break to toe. So Mr. Mount must have been the first driver to dart to the right hand side, and basically all of the other drivers followed as Volts has a mistake. He makes a mistake at the exit of turn 3. And OP Magic has him. Down to third goes Volts, and Crichton tries to follow. Round the outside at turn 5. Volts gives him a squeeze. Crichton's not having it. Tries to get a switch back, can't do it. Crichton, he stays in 4th place. Can he do a similar move that Swaggy did? He is! Down the inside. Crichton pushes him off the racetrack. Volts comes back on but maintains control of the car. He stays in 3rd place for now. Volts is not going to make it easy for Crichton. Round turn 12. Round turn 13. Then the kinks of 14 and 15. Now Volts is going to try and make a move on OP Magic, though he is some way behind. Maybe very difficult for him to do so. DRS open for both cars. They're going to be side by side. Heading towards turn 1. Down the inside goes Crichton, makes the move stick. He defends the inside line through turn 2. Oh, but makes contact. Bump there. And Volts gets damage. And there's an accident involving Prying Stingray. He has gone off the racetrack. He's come back on. He has fallen to 14th. That car is completely sideways, and yet he keeps control of it, but he's down in 14th with a lot of work to do. Back to the... Oh my goodness gracious, what is this group? 8 to 9. And we've got all these cars so closely bunched together. So Crichton, OP and Volts have held each other up to such a degree that we now have this. Mr. Mount down the inside, can't go for the move. No, he has. And off the racetrack goes Volts. Volts stays on though with the inside line. Ooh, no contact with old mate Kurt somehow. They don't make contact with each other. Round turn 16. And into the pits goes Volts. He's blinked. He's getting off those medium compound tyres. It's the same with OP Magic. Straight line speed of the Alfa Romeo is quite evident. Pulling away on the straights. Heading towards turn 1. Behind the Haas of Newey, he's got Shaq and Gorilla. Right in behind. Ready to attack for position. Crichton's now starting to build a margin again over Mount. Gap of 1.8 seconds. Doesn't help with the fact that Mount has got a black arrows on the back of him, giving him unwanted pressure. Heading into the final sector. We're not even at the halfway mark as well. I just glanced at that. We're on lap 17. When they cross the line, it'll be lap 18. As Swaggy has just done then. We finally hit the halfway mark. Still got a long way to go. A long, long way to go. Again, Aaron isn't close enough to attack Mr. Mount, and the cars behind, because they all have DRS, they can't pass the cars in front. So everyone is a little bit stuck at the moment. Sector 3 yellows, that is OP? No, it's Volts. I thought that might have been a Red Bull dot, and into the pits he goes. And elects to leave the session, not retire from it. Gorilla gets a 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. Look at this. Have you ever seen a bigger group of cars that can't do anything to attack one another? All of these guys within a second of each other, and they just can't do anything. At the moment, Mr. Mount has got the measure over G-Force Aaron. Realistically, Aaron needs to be within half a second of Mr. Mount in order to attack into turn 1. And even if he's close enough, he needs to try and make the move stick, and I can assure you Mr. Mount isn't going to make it easy. There's a brief exchange in position there. Plebs overtaking Sorel JB. Plebs on soft compound tyres. I think he'll need to make another pit stop. Look at them all just following each other, unable to do a thing. Through the third sector. See the virtual Mexican crowd cheering on for the traffic jam that is this battle for third place. Because although the guy at the front, he wouldn't mind it too much because he's got clear air, but the cars behind have to put up with all the dirty air. Losing a whole heap of time in that critical second sector. Now I just noticed there Aaron made a small mistake, but I don't think Kurt can realistically capitalize on it. He's not close enough, and he won't have the momentum to attack into turn 5, as you see there. Not a bad camera shot, that. Mr. Mount has not done himself any favours, though. That's another penalty next to his name. I'm pretty sure that's 6 seconds. It is 6 seconds. And Crichton has 6 as well. Swaggy leading the way only has 3. Only drivers not to have penalties: GeForce Aaron, Old Mate Kurt, Curving Texas down in 11th, OP Magic and GeForce Wogboy down in 15th and 16th. Everyone else has a penalty of some description. See Mr. Mount still hanging on here for 3rd place. He's doing a spectacular job hanging on. Heading towards turn 4. And I just noticed that Aaron didn't use any DRS just then. I might actually just... I'll ride on board with him on the next lap. There might have been an error on his part, but he did not have DRS available to him. He's just lost a second to Mr. Mount now, as Old Mate Kurt gets a penalty. He's using DRS now. You can see the flap wide open. I was just wondering, perhaps Aaron might have had a DRS fault as Sendeezy goes into the back of Old Mate Kurt, and he loses a bunch of time as Mr. Mount gets another penalty. See, there is a chance in an online race that your DRS flap will malfunction and stop working. But as you can see on Aaron's car, it is clearly working. Can any of these guys do anything? Nachos has retired on track, it seems. Just been lapped, and I think he has retired voluntarily on circuit. Couldn't see him there. Fortunately, that hasn't brought out a safety car. We're still under green flag running. These drivers now begin lap 23 of 36 here in Mexico. Kurt is closing in. Doesn't go for the move though at turn 1. It's a pretty decent exit though out of 3. So does Aaron, according to the intervals. Because Aaron is pulling away from Kurt there when they go through turn 4. Swaggy, another penalty. He's now on 6 seconds. But he's got quite the commanding lead. He will need to make another pit stop, but so will every other driver in this field. Except for maybe Cyril JB, OP Magic, and maybe even GeForce Crichton. But I suspect he might be pitting onto a set of softs as well. We're coming towards that pit window for the soft compound tyre. In perhaps another 2 laps as Sendeezy has a moment there. He had a colossal moment through the arena section, and here comes Nui and the 2 Renaults. Fortunately for Sendeezy, he still has DRS, so at least for this lap, they won't be able to do anything. But if Sendeezy can't get within 1 second again of P5, he is seriously going to struggle to hang on to 6th place. Polish Gorilla and Shaq exchange positions there, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure I saw The green and red arrow pop up. Sendizi still outside the 1 second range from old mate Kurt. He's on the bubble, he's within it. Rounding the high speed bends in this middle sector. Sendizi not close enough. Actually, he is close enough. Well within a second, so fortunately his mistake isn't too costly. And into the pits. That is old mate Kurt and Sendizi and G-Force Aaron onto the soft tyre. Now the undercut around here is ridiculous. It is seriously powerful. Out they come. They'll be stretching it, but they'll have that initial advantage on these fresh tyres. Drivers are close, but not close enough to attack as Shaq, as you saw there, running wide at turn 5. The game is brutal with that sort of thing, and he was given a 3-second time penalty for accumulating too many warnings. Swaggy goes into the pits for the final time, brakes for the marks. At pit entry doesn't speed. See the Alfa Romeo crew coming out. What does Crichton do? Does he pit? No, he stays out. He'll take the lead of the race, and onto the soft tyre goes Swaggy. Mr. Mount follows in. Same with Nui, same with Gorilla. Shaq stays out. Gorilla gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And there is Swaggy, just behind Shaq. He's lost 2 positions with that pit stop. It is absolutely ridiculous how far ahead of the field he was. Pretty much a class act of the field of, which is really saying something considering the caliber of drivers in this lobby. Does he look down the inside? No. But he may favour a move down the inside at 70 if he can make that stick. We saw him do it before. He's going to try and do it again. But to no avail, Shaq fights, but runs wide. And through goes Swaggy. Granted, Shaq put up a fight, but too much momentum forced him wide at turn 8. Having to cut the corner and relinquishing the position down to 3rd. You can see that undercut in full effect. Aaron now leading this group. Well, actually it's Plevs, but Plevs needs to make another stop. Probably this lap, I imagine. There's old mate Kurt and Mr. Mount. Mr. Mount was in front of these two. A role reversal here has resulted in Aaron leading this group with Kurt and Mr. Mount. Kurt gaining though. On the racing line, they are side by side. Down the inside, Aaron keeps a nose in and spins. And here comes Mr. Mount down the inside at 2, round the outside at 3. Aaron's having none of it though, stays in 4th place. You see Aaron desperately trying to stay down the inside. He only just had a nose in there. I'd say that Kurt was well within his rights to turn for the corner. Oh, and punting him, and off the racetrack. And Sendizi goes past, and so does Nui. Revving the engine there, Mr. Mount forgetting that he has to change gears, cutting the racetrack. And he's letting drivers go. He comes back on in clear air, so then he doesn't impede anybody else. Quite a professional bit of driving there. I'm not sure if he was hit or if Aaron broke a bit early or something, but yeah, quite an odd accident that was at turn 6. The only car that could have hit missed him out from behind would have been Sandeezy, and Sandeezy doesn't have any damage on his front wing. I'm not sure if Aaron perhaps braked a little bit too early for the corner as well, as Mr. Mount goes into the pits to get a front wing change, as he did get damage from that accident. Down the inside, Sandeezy. Aaron can't fight it. He can't stay around the outside, which would have let him have the inside line for turn 2. He falls down to 5th place. Stingray, another penalty next to his name. He's got a fair few. 21 seconds, yeah, that's a few. Polished Gorilla comes second when it comes to penalties with 20, then Shaq, his Renault teammate, with 15. Well, actually, it's equal third with Volts on 15 as well, as Aaron gets his first penalty for the race. After 29 laps, that's a pretty decent effort there, Aaron, to go penalty-free for that long. But eventually, the penny has to drop, and it finally has. You've now got 3 seconds next to your name. Only 2 drivers left with no penalties. That is Curving Texas and GeForce Wogboy in P12 and 13 respectively. Mofo perhaps lining up an overtake here. Actually, I think he will be lining up an overtake. OP Magic, a master of conserving ERS. He's got a lot to defend here. Defends the inside line, heading into turn 1. Keeps the nose in there. Oh, and OP hangs on to the car. I had a feeling they might have made contact. OP Magic's still going, but he's on hard compound tyres compared to the soft runners around him, and he actually just lets Stingray go. He doesn't bother fighting the Ferrari driver. He knows he's got 21 seconds worth of penalties. There's absolutely no reason to try and fight the car on fresher, softer compound tyres. Then he's got his teammate just in behind, so I reckon if he let the Ferrari through with ease, he's going to let Curving through with ease as well, I would think. Rounding the final 2 curves on the racetrack, Aaron still in 5th place. He's got Nui all over the back of him though. Half a second separating the 2. DRS open. Both drivers fairly low on ERS, so they really have nothing to try and attack or defend with, realistically. Shaq just in behind as well, 6/10 behind. Just keep my eye on this for now. Swaggy is closing in, and I reckon in about 2 or 3 laps, probably 2 laps actually, he'll be right on the back of Crichton, challenging for victory. One Slick Mofo, a 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. Rounding the hairpin inside the stadium. None of these guys are able to attack one another. That is quite unbelievable. Really shows you how shocking these cars are as race cars. Really unable to do anything. You would say that these guys are close enough to try and attack, but just really can't do anything right now. Stingray, 3-second penalty again. Man going for the world record for the most amount of penalties accumulated in the race. World by a 3-second time penalty as Mr. Mount has elected to retire from the session. Then we got the 2 leaders with 5 laps to go when they cross the line now. It's going to be quite the easy overtake, I imagine, for Swaggy. He'll close in rapidly down this long pit straight. He'll close in even more through this technical section that forms turns 1, 2 and 3. And he'll close in some more down this long second DRS straight. And he's not close enough to make an overtake happen. I thought that was going to be game, set and match at turn 4. As it turns out, this is going to go on for maybe a tinsy-wincy bit longer than what it probably should be. To see Crichton, even though he's on significantly older tyres, he's still gaining as Swaggy runs very wide there. Yes, he still gains through that second sector purely because he has clear air compared to Swaggy, who's got absolute face full of the turbulent air coming from the Mercedes in front. And here comes Swaggy, sitting right in the slipstream. He'll use DRS, sitting right in behind, not using any overtake just yet. He's side by side with Crichton, heading into turn 1. Crichton fights through 2, but I'm afraid it is quite inevitable. Swaggy retakes the lead here in Mexico City with 4 laps to go. And there's going to be very little Crichton can do to try and fight for the win. At the moment, he's looking at a podium finish at the very least. With only 4 laps to go, I think he can hang on to second, as it is quite some margin between P2 and 3. The only caution I would have for Crichton is punctures. I did a race in Tier 3. I pitted at lap 12 to put on hard tyres, and I got to the end. The front left was at 81%. That is the tyre that gets the most worn around here. So his front left, with about 2, maybe 1 lap to go, will be in puncture territory. And if he isn't in the hands of Codemasters gods, if the Codemasters gods wish, they can give him a puncture at any percentage after 75. As Swaggy gives himself another penalty, but he'll be able to pull that 3 seconds easily away from Crichton. See, Swaggy has 9 seconds worth of pens. Crichton has 6, so the gap needs to be 3 seconds at the end of the race. And this is where Swaggy will gain so much time through this middle sector. Those soft compound tyres would just feel a million times better than those old hards. A couple of drivers exchanging positions here. Kurt is currently in 3rd, Sandizi in 4th, challenging old mate Kurt for the final podium place as... Ooh, Aaron was a bit jumpy then. That's not good. As Aaron gets a penalty, another one, another 3 seconds. Oh, defending hard! I was wondering why Snooey was was on that sort of line at turn 12. I was wondering why he was so narrow. That's why he had a Renault down the inside that he's trying to defend from. You see now the gap, almost 4 seconds between the top 2 with 2 laps to go. Crichton needs to cruise round, not make mistakes, and pray that he doesn't get a puncture. According to the game, the hard tyres can do 23 laps, so he's going to be right on the threshold when the checkered flag waves. And these two are on the same amount of penalties, right? No, Sandizi has 1 more. So Sandizi's on 9 seconds, old mate Kurt on 6. So Kurt, he has a couple of cards in his hand that favour him. He's got track position first of all, and he's got fewer penalties. They're on the same age tyre as well, so Sandeesi doesn't have an upper hand when it comes to tyre life. Theoretically, they should have about the same amount of tyre life. As the leaders begin the final lap, we have a battle for third taking place and a potential battle for fifth that may or may not happen. Sandeesi, he'd be looking, pushing hard. He's run out of overtake to use. So has Kurt. Kurt defends around the outside Sandeesi. Kurt goes deep. He'll defend the inside line into two. Compromise Sandeesi. Exiting three. Sitting in the slipstream. Good to know Val can't make an overtake happen at turn 4. AP Magic new fastest lap with a 15.107. He'll take that extra point for himself, it would seem. Sandeesi fighting hard for this. But as you can see, it's fairly inevitable for Old Mate Kurt to come out on top. As the red, white and green confetti flies into the sky to salute what has been a superb drive from this man. G4 Swaggy will cross the line to win here in Mexico City. Crichton will cross the line in second place, surviving on those old hard compound tyres. It's P2 for the Mercedes-Benz driver. Kurt hangs on to third. Sandeesi crosses the line in fourth, but ultimately it goes to G-Force Aaron. Newey finishes in fifth. There's Sandeesi down in sixth. One Slick Mofo in seventh. Then it's the two Renaults. Plevs finishes in ninth. A great recovery after what happened earlier on. Actually make that P10 as Curving Texas with no penalties finishes inside the top 10 in ninth, beating Plevs by 800ths of a second. Polish Gorilla in P11, F1 Wogboy P12, OP Magic 13th, Sherelle JB in 14th, Prime Stingray 15th place, and our final finisher as Volts left mid-session. I don't think he rejoined. Driver of the day given to Curving Texas. There wasn't a great deal of racing that took place in this race. Drivers were very close to each other, but genuinely that was about it. Still doesn't take away the fact that Swaggy drove just superbly here in Mexico. A fine victory. Crichton in second place did all he could with the one-stop strategy. It was good enough for second. And Old Mate Kurt on the podium for Williams F1, taking third place. But looking at the unofficial results, Swaggy wins by 4.7 seconds over Crichton. Kurt in third, Aaron in fourth, Newey in fifth, Sandeesi in sixth, Mofo 7th, Shaq 8th, Curving Texas starting from P17, finishing 9th. I can see why he was given driver of the day, making up 9 places over the course of this race. Pledge from P12 to P10. In fairness, that effort is quite a bit more significant than that, considering he was plumb last after the first lap. To finish P10 is quite some effort. Polish Gorilla P11, Wogboy 12th, OP Magic 13th, Sorel JB in 14th, and our final points finisher as a top 15 score points in this championship, Prime Stingray in the Ferrari. Fastest lap as well goes to OP Magic in the Red Bull, so he'll snag that extra point for himself. But yes, so 4 retirements effectively from that race, as Volts, I'm pretty certain, did not rejoin the session. But generally speaking, pretty solid race here in Mexico. A lot of fun. Had some hair-raising moments for sure. Drivers spinning out, making contact. But the racing was something to be, I don't know, a bit disappointed with. And it's not because of the drivers, it's just because of the track and the car combo. It just doesn't work. You got these big groups of cars that all have DRS and they just can't do anything. And you kind of hope with F1 2021 that some of those things may be resolved. I mean, I get that it's somewhat accurate to real life racing where it is difficult to overtake, but I don't know, just dial it back, just a hint. So, that's what I'm kind of hoping with the F1 2021 game. Not only that, but I also hope that the game is actually functioning when it releases, unlike this thing, where we had the CWS problem, which was quite a serious issue, the connecting with communication services. Communicating with online services. Yeah, that's it. It was a real speed hump that a lot of people had to climb over. Fortunately, it was patched about a month after release. So hopefully with F1 2021 we don't have that excuse me. We don't have that issue. I finally got it out. But no. I guess an expected race at Mexico. Next week, though, I can't remember what we have next week. Ooh, Spain. So round 12 is Barcelona, Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. So, with Barcelona, it's not a great racetrack in real life because of how many high-speed bends it has. Dirty air is a significant factor around here, a bit like here in Mexico City. But one of the things that I admire about Barcelona is that it's quite a nice driving track for about 90% of it until you hit the chicane, which is flow destroying to say the least. But the racetrack as a whole is very solid to drive around. I somewhat enjoy driving around there. Qualifying can be pretty intense as well. You have the chance for wet weather. And because of the high speed bends, it means for the margin for error shrinks. And there is a chance for big accidents, and definitely the drivers will be concerned about that, particularly at turn 9, the uphill right-hander where the car can become quite unstable. I have seen many an accident around there in my lifetime. So a couple of things that the drivers will have to look out for next week. Here in Race Spec Esports, though, it's not over here in Mexico. Tomorrow I will be commentating the America Series race around here, where we've got a intense championship battle going on. Not only that, but at the end of the week we will also be having the RSTs battle around this racetrack here in Mexico. So it's not quite over yet here in Mexico City, but for here on the Tier 1 Pacific Series, it's time for us to end. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I've been the Smeg, and we'll see you all next week for the Spanish Grand Prix at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Until then, goodbye.